So we can use tools like Copilot or Perplexity to help us and students generate revision questions to help them review their content. They can use it to help explain concepts that maybe they're a little bit confused by. They can use it to do things like summarize really difficult concepts or even explain things to them in ways that maybe make more sense to them. So we can ask AI to explain something using an analogy that resonates with that student. So for example, you can see in Perplexity here, I've created a space, so you can do that on the side here. And in your space, you can upload material that you want to work with in that space. And the spaces are really handy in Perplexity because you can put all the material there and then come and find it really easily when you want to go back to the prompts that you used with that particular material. So in this space, I've uploaded just 5 of my own documents. So if you're doing that, just make sure you're allowed to upload those documents. And you can see that I want Perplexity to generate some multiple choice questions for me about the content that I've given it. So you can see I've given Perplexity a really specific prompt here, asking it to generate 10 questions about that particular topic for a particular audience, so first year university students, and I've asked it to include a mix of cognitive levels. And then I've given specific instructions about how I think the questions and answers should be worded. And if I want to, I can even provide formatting instructions, and that would make it easier for me if I wanted to, for example, put it in a test bank later. So these are very easy to follow instructions. If you're looking for a really good prompt to generate multiple choice questions, ask Copilot or ask Perplexity. So ask AI to help you come up with the prompt to use so that you develop a prompt that works for you and you get the type of answers you're looking for. The type of questions you're looking for. So anyway, you can see I've given it the sources. These are the questions that it's generated. I quite like these questions because they're not too simple, but they're not too hard. So there's a good mix there. So I'd be happy to use those to help me revise if I was a student, and then I could even ask AI to quiz me about those questions one at a time if I wanted to practice and use those ones as my revision. So Perplexity is great for generating multiple choice questions, and so is Copilot. So you can see in Copilot I've used the exact same prompt and it's generated some revision questions as well. They're good questions. Personally, I just preferred the Perplexity questions in this particular example. So back to Perplexity. In the space, I've got all my sources up there. I've asked it to create the questions, so you can see that that's where that is now saved. So if I wanted to come back and remind myself about what that prompt was that I used, it would be in my space. I just have to find it and then it's in there. If I had some content that I wanted explained to me in maybe a different way or maybe broken down so it was simpler for me to understand, I could keep all of the resources in that space and ask a question. So for example, I could say I'm confused about this, explain it using a mind map. So it breaks it down into simpler bullet point summaries. And if you really want it to, it can generate a visual mind map as well. And then I've said I'm still confused. Explain it to me as though I'm in grade 8, and then it breaks it down even further, which I think is really helpful. And personally, I find this really helpful when you're trying to explain something to someone and they're just not understanding what it is that you're trying to explain, and you just need maybe some guidance about how to break it down into more simplistic terms. AI is great for helping you do that, and it's also really great for explaining it using analogies that might be better understood by that person. So AI is really helpful for generating revision questions, mind maps, breaking concepts down into simpler, easier to understand summaries, and helping to just explain things to us that maybe are just too hard to understand.